Hello and welcome to the Sunday Guardian podcast with Joyeeta Basu. Viewers, as you know, a lot is happening on the Israel Iran front. A war is raging in the Middle East. And as you also know, on Sunday after midnight, the USA bombed several nuclear installations in Iran. Now, to find out more about what is going on in the war and what Israel's position is, I have a very distinguished guest with me here today. Israel's ambassador to India, His Excellency Reuven Azar. Welcome to the show, Ambassador.
Thank you, Joyeeta, for inviting me.
Okay. Now, Ambassador, the first question is that how would you describe Sunday's US attack on Iran's nuclear installations? I mean, of course, there's a lot of criticism also coming of it in terms of violating the sovereignty of Iran, but also perhaps from the Israeli viewpoint, it could be also called as historic, a game changer. How would you describe it?
We describe it as historic because of several reasons. First, not only that we have finally gotten to the plans of Iran to exterminate us, and we have taken care of it with the help of the United States, and we are in complete sync with the United States, but also this is a very important sign for the international community. Because when you have a country like Iran that has been for decades not only trying to destroy the state of Israel and sworn to destroy the state of Israel, but deceiving the entire international community with clandestine and undeclared nuclear activities, with amassing huge amounts of weapons of mass destruction, with attacks against neighboring countries, against Arab capitals, building this terrorist machine, building a huge amount of military capability through illicit means. When America sends such a sign, after years of trying to negotiate this, it means that other malign actors will think again before they engage in such actions. Because what America has managed to do is to, together with Israel, is to basically erase dozens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars of investment that Iran had in this effort. And we have no doubt that this is setting back the Iranian nuclear program and the Iranian ballistic program big time.
So, why was this attack needed at this particular point of time?
Well, we had information that since we succeeded in defeating Hezbollah, and since the defeat of Hezbollah has caused a change in Syria, the Iranian regime changed policy and decided to run into building a nuclear device. And that is something that we couldn't live with, because we knew that from the moment that the Iranians build the device, they would create a nuclear deterrence that would allow them not only to exterminate Israel, but also keep other countries at bay. And therefore, we took action, and we took it now.
Okay, now, how does this attack help your war against Iran? I'm talking about Sunday's specific attack by the US, specifically in terms of degrading Iran's nuclear capabilities, because there are media reports, I was just reading today itself, that say that Fordo was damaged but has not been destroyed. So, what are the possibilities that Iran will not try to revive its nuclear weapons program again?
Well, we'll see if it chooses to do so. What we have been doing is a huge degradation of their military nuclear program. And it's not just Fordo. What Israel started to do 10 days ago is a systematic elimination of the nuclear program that has many elements. Some of the elements are enrichment of uranium. Some of the elements have to do with putting installations underground. But there are many other elements. For example, the conversion plant in Isfahan that is essential in order to create a nuclear weapon. The targeting of the clandestine group that was building a nuclear device. So although enrichment technology is not that complicated, you have hundreds of people, if not thousands in Iran that master that. When it comes to the weaponization, there were only very few people that were dealing with that. And I believe that thanks to the Israeli activity, both of the IDF and the other security agencies, we've been able to neutralize that. There were more than 70 locations around Iran in which nuclear activities were being carried. So the systematic activity of Israel, of first of all removing the air defenses and then pounding the military leadership and the Revolutionary Guards and the criminal group of scientists that were assembling the weapon and the installations, that has brought a setback to the nuclear program of Iran many years. And of course, the ending move by the United States to make sure through this Moab bombs of 13 tons each, fired from a B-2 airplane for several of them, has made sure that these installations are indeed completely destroyed or damaged to the extent that they will be impossible to restore in a short time.
Okay. Now, there are media reports that are saying that Iran has been able to save much of its enriched uranium stockpile. Now, if not anything else, I mean, even if they are not being able to revive that nuclear program in some time now, they can always use this enriched uranium to produce and use what are known as dirty bombs or radiological dispersal devices or RDDs. Now, how can Iran be stopped from misusing the enriched uranium which it has at its disposal right now?
Well, that's indeed a challenge. The challenge is not over. As you know, we have invested many years in intelligence that would allow us to expose what Iran was doing. In the past, we've managed to share some of that intelligence with the IAEA, and without Israeli intelligence, I doubt very much whether the IAEA would have been capable of issuing reports, including the last report in which it determined that Iran is in non-compliance of the safeguards agreement. So yes, we will have a challenge with that. Possibly some of the enriched material is out there, but as we have exposed the various nuclear activities of Iran in the past, I believe in our capability to expose whatever they're planning to do in the future.
So, how do you expect Iran to respond now? Militarily or by ramping up the use of terrorism through its proxies? They're already talking about blocking the Strait of Hormuz. So, what exactly, I mean, how much you think Iran is willing to go?
That's a good question. We hope that they will change course because after many years that they have acted with complete impunity. Last year, since April last year, when for the first time, they attacked us directly, they have become exposed themselves. Imagine, Joyeeta, that for 30 years, the Iranians were sitting back, creating this machinery of terror and war and aggression against the rest of the region, including Israel, and they were not being accountable for that. So for the first time, they are now accountable. For the first time, the so-called supreme leader, he's the main criminal. He's the person who commanded all these people to do all these terrible things, okay? He's now seeing his entire country, mainly its entire country's military capabilities in flames. And Israel has now freedom of action over the skies of Iran. If the Iranians want to change that, they have to change course. They have to come clean. They have to negotiate a solution that will, first of all, verifiably see Iran clean from any military nuclear activities. Second, without the capability to build ballistic missiles, because those would be used to destroy other countries. And third, committing to stop this proxy war and this ring of fire around us. If they commit to that, then I think Iran can be a peaceful country. I agree with you that the radical ideology doesn't give you a lot of room to be optimistic about it, and therefore we had no choice but to use force. But eventually, they would have to pick what to do first. If they have to rebuild their proxies, and they have to rebuild the nuclear program, and they have to rebuild the ballistic missile program, and they have to rebuild their machinery of oppression of the Iranian people, that is going to take them a lot of time and a lot of money that the international community is willing to keep from them if they don't change course.
Now, since you spoke about ballistic missiles, which seem to be posing an immediate threat to the people of Israel, And also today also I saw some media reports about I think some defense installations have been hit. There are certain reports are coming in. Now, to what extent, if you can be a little more specific in terms of to what extent about, Iran ballistic missile capabilities have been able to, you've been able to degrade, and especially when it comes to, because we keep hearing about there's a stockpile of something like 3,000 ballistic missiles they have. So, and also
Mhm.
have the attacks, the intensity of the attacks that we saw in the initial days, has that intensity come down?
Right. So, first of all, in terms of capabilities, yes, the intelligence figures that were published are talking about several thousand, between 2 and 3,000 ballistic missiles already possessed. However, they were planning to build 20,000 ballistic missiles in the next 3 years. They were capable of producing 300 ballistic missiles per month. Okay. Um, so what we did is we pounded not only the missile stockpiles, but also the launchers, because the launchers are key in order to send a barrage of missiles towards Israel. We've been able to destroy more than 50% of the launchers, and we are continuing to do so. Our Air Force is still over Iran. Okay, and in addition to that, we put a lot of focus on the factories that produce missiles. Okay, and that has created a situation in which the barrages have gone down from about 200 per day in the first 4 days of the operation to about only 2 dozen in the last few days per day. It's still a challenge. Each one of these missiles can erase an entire building or hit an entire neighborhood. And we've seen some of these missiles penetrating our very good air defense systems. We have 24 casualties, hundreds of wounded. Um, only only a few days back, a neighborhood in which my son lives has been hit as well. It's a challenge, and Israel continues to degrade. And I believe we have the capability to continue to degrade the missile capability of Iran.
Okay. Now, as for Israel's goals in this war, would you say goals have changed during the war, especially to be more specific? Are you looking at a regime change in Iran? Even President Trump has talked about it.
We have two main goals in this campaign: to neutralize the nuclear threat of extermination of our state by a country that has sworn to destroy us, and destroy the ballistic missile program, which is also a plan to try to exterminate us. We are seeking a situation in which the conditions will be ripe for a diplomatic solution, and we hope that the Iranians will come to the table, and this time they will take the United States and the rest of the international community much more seriously. Only 2 or 3 days ago, the foreign minister of Iran was in Europe, and he was refusing to cooperate on any of the demands of the international community. So we hope that that changes, and I think as much as the capabilities of Iran get degraded, there is a tendency that they will agree, and if not, we will continue keeping our freedom of operation to neutralize any threat that is coming from Iran towards our state.
Any chances of putting boots on the ground, Israeli boots on the ground in the near future?
I'm not aware of our operational plans. The government of Israel will know to do whatever it needs to do in order to neutralize threats. But our goals, following your question, our plans do not include regime change. This is something that is completely up to the Iranian people. Of course, what we hope that this regime will leave this world, because it's a regime that has been not only attacking Israel so fiercely and planning to destroy us, but it's also a threat to the region. We saw the attacks against the Saudis, 5 years ago. We saw the attacks against ships by the Houthis that are a proxy of Iran, that hinder international trade, and no less the terrible oppression of Iran towards the people of Iran, which is unimaginable. And I understand why it's so hard for the Iranian people to rise against this regime, because it has been terrorizing them. It's been torturing them, putting them in prison, just killing women just because they don't wear hijab. No, it's terrible. And I hope for the sake of humanity that this regime will no longer exist. But we do not see as our role to decide which government is going to rule other states. We are concentrated in electing our own government.
Yeah, and so when you say that this will continue, how do you have a rough time period in mind? How long it's like to continue, and is there a ceasefire? Because there is some talk of ceasefire that is, I mean, started coming up.
We are not looking for prolonged war. We hope to reach a ceasefire that will meet the goals that we have put forward.
Okay, and how are Israelis coping with this war? What's the mood like in Israel?
Well, the mood is, on the one hand, people are very anxious because they have to run into shelters on a day-to-day basis. We have right now, in the last 10 days, we don't have schools in Israel. Only a few people have been able to go to work. And generally speaking, people are fearing to be hit. They have to run to shelters. However, the mood of Israelis is actually pretty good. The results of the actions of the IDF actually have not only brought up the national atmosphere, the national mood, but also it manifested itself in the stock exchange in Israel. It has gone up. So the results of our operation are very successful in terms of reaching their goals. And therefore, the general mood is a good mood. We also believe that as a result of the, substantial debilitation of the Iranian regime and its capability to hurt us, there is much more prospect that we also will be able to finish our campaign in the Gaza Strip to get rid of Hamas finally, bring back our hostages.
Okay. Since you are Israel's ambassador to India, I mean, this question has to come. And this is the last question, by the way. What is your view of India's apparently quote unquote neutral stand on this war? Are you happy with whatever India has been saying or doing?
Well, India is not part of this conflict, and we are not part of conflicts that India has. But what we have in common is, first of all, our values. We enjoy an amazing relationship. Only in the last few days, our Prime Minister spoke with Prime Minister Modi. Our Foreign Minister Sar spoke with Minister Jaishankar. Our national security advisors, Hanegbi and Doval, spoke to each other, and we are working together, including in the last 20 months since this war started on 7th of October, to continue cooperating, widening our cooperation in fields that that serve our national security goals. We create together the capabilities that allow us to meet some of the challenges that we have. This is a very good relationship. It not only includes defense aspects, but also economic aspects. And we have a very full agenda of things we want to achieve in this relationship, because India is a rising power. Israel is also a very prominent player in our region and in the world when it comes to innovation. And we have a lot of things that we can achieve together. So we're looking forward to the day in which this challenge of Iran will be over and we'll be able to engage fully in developing our relationship with India and other friends around the world.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. And thank you, viewers, for watching. Until the next time.